Hey friends, and welcome to this week's episode. Well, it's October, which is officially Menopause Month. We get a whole month. Just this half of the population living half of our lives are given 1 month to celebrate this amazing time of life. So I think it's a good time to talk a little bit more about one of the biggest issues that happens with menopause, which is vaginal dryness and pain with intercourse that occurs as a result of the vaginal tissue becoming less healthy. And this is a huge problem that so many women suffer with, and still frequently we don't talk about it. So I've talked about this here before, but just to refresh your memory, some of you might remember me talking about the puffy donuts and the sandpaper. So forgive me if you've heard this story before, but if you biopsy the tissue of a young woman, say a woman who's still producing lots of estrogen, and remember the primary estrogen that we make as women is called estradiol. There are others, but that's the primary one. The cells inside the vagina look like puffy donuts. They're sort of spherical looking. They've got gooey stuff in the middle. They're stretchy and bouncy and just look fun and playful. And then if you biopsy the tissue of a woman who's been estrogen depleted for some time, let's just say she's been postmenopausal for 5 or 10 years, that same tissue looks like the donut got run over with a steamroller. It's flat and thin. The moisture's gone away, no longer elastic. You can imagine that does not feel good with intercourse. And many of my patients tell me it literally feels like getting paper cuts. This might resonate with you if you're in that group who's been estrogen depleted for some time. Sometimes it takes years for those changes to develop, and other women start experiencing those even in perimenopause. Because even in perimenopause, there are times of our cycle around the time of our period when our estradiol can get very low enough, interestingly, that it can cause this vaginal dryness and pain, even when we're still producing estradiol. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a problem that's just for women who are, say, 60. I have patients in their 40s who are already experiencing vaginal dryness, pain, loss of elasticity. So here's the other good news. If you replace estradiol into that vaginal tissue, do the biopsy again, we can turn that sandpaper looking tissue back into a puffy donut. So the changes in the tissue that happen as a result of menopause can be reversed. That's the good news. And the primary thing that reverses it is estradiol. So if we put estradiol in our whole system, just for example, someone like me or many of you who are using hormone replacement head to toe, maybe you're using a patch or a pellet, you're getting some estradiol in your vagina, and chances are you're not going to experience that particular problem. But if you're someone who's been off estrogen for some period of time, for example, if you've been estrogen depleted for some number of years, or if you have particularly low estrogen during the time of your period, even if you're perimenopausal, you might need some supplementation to help the vagina to be more healthy. And this is so important. I think our sexual well-being is really critical for optimizing our quality of life and our relationships, and there's no reason why we cannot have a healthy vagina at any age, if we're 80 or 90 or any age, so long as we keep providing the vaginal tissue with the nutrients that it needs, which include estradiol. So again, if you're taking estradiol throughout your whole system, generally that's going to be helpful. If someone comes to see me and they've been estrogen depleted for some time, often we not only give systemic estradiol, that means a patch or a pellet, but also put some directly in the vagina, and that's very safe to do. You're not getting too much if you use it in both ways, because vaginal estrogen pretty much stays below the waist. Very little of it gets above the waist, meaning it's all bound and absorbed locally for the most part. So estradiol comes in several different forms. You can get a cream. You measure the cream in a little tube, put it in the vagina. Maybe you do that every day for the first few weeks, and then maybe every 3 times a week or whatever your doctor recommends. The downside is it's kind of messy, it's sticky, it's high maintenance, but it does work really well. And it might take a few months to restore the vagina back to being as healthy as it was when you were making lots of estradiol, but I promise it is reversible. There is no patient that should ever put up with vaginal dryness and pain because it is so easy to reverse. Now, it might take some time, a few months, but it's reversible. So cream is an option. Personally, I find it kind of messy, sticky, and difficult, but it does work. Now, because of that messiness, there's another product that comes in a little tablet. The brand name is Vagifem. It's also bioidentical estradiol. You put the little tablet in the vagina with a little applicator. Same exact stuff. It dissolves in the vagina. It's just a little bit less messy and sticky, and it's pre-measured, so some people find that more convenient. It's a lot of wrapping and it's a tiny little pill with a giant box of trash to throw away after you've opened it. That's my only complaint about that product, but it works really well. It's a really low dose, so by all means, you're not getting too much estradiol if you use one of those products along with your patch or pellet. There's also an estrogen containing ring, which is really interesting. It's a silicone ring with the estradiol in the ring. You put it in the vagina. It actually lasts for 3 months, which is kind of cool. So you're getting estradiol all the time, 24/7 for 3 months. So really easy. You literally put it in there and leave it there. I know that sounds weird, but it's a ring with no cap on it. So kind of like a diaphragm, but without the cap. So discharge can come out. It doesn't increase the risk of infection or anything like that. I do have some patients who think it's a bit weird to have something in the vagina for 3 months. You can have sex with it in. You can exercise with it in. I think it's the easiest out of all the methods, but some patients just don't like the idea. So all of those are bioidentical estradiol, and they're all available from a regular pharmacy, which is really cool. There's another product that I absolutely love called Intra-Rosa. Now, Intra-Rosa is a slightly different hormone. The hormone is called DHEA. Now, DHEA is really interesting because it's a precursor to testosterone. So the DHEA, some of it converts into testosterone. Some of the testosterone converts into estradiol. So you're actually getting all 3 hormones in the vagina. The vagina loves all 3 of those hormones. Testosterone actually also has a beneficial effect for rejuvenating those flat sandpaper-like vaginal cells. So the goal of any of these treatments is to restore the vaginal tissue to being thick, juicy, full of moisture, stretchy, so that when you have intercourse, it doesn't crack like if you got a piece of tissue paper and pulled it, and it can feel like little paper cuts in the middle. So all of those techniques can absolutely restore vaginal moisture and get rid of pain completely. We want to eradicate all things to do with pain with intercourse so it can be enjoyable, and I promise it's possible. Even if you're a patient with breast cancer, for example, there are products in those categories that hopefully your oncologist will be okay with using because they don't get above the waist in most cases, especially the ring. The ring is the least likely to get to the breast. So I put in a plug for that one if you're a breast cancer patient. Another great thing to do if you're a breast cancer patient, or if you just simply don't like the idea of using those products, is vaginal laser. And all the different laser manufacturers make something that does this. They've got different names: Mona Lisa, Genesis. We have one called Juliet. Basically, they all work very well. Another one called Diva. They're all brand names. However, the one that we chose, called Juliet, I'll show you what the probe looks like. So to have this done, this probe goes inside the vagina. As you can see, it's quite small. If you're able to tolerate intercourse or even having a small speculum placed in the vagina at an exam, you can certainly tolerate having the probe put inside the vagina. So the only requirement to have this done is that your vagina is substantial enough to allow the probe to enter. But this particular laser is an erbium laser. That's the energy source. And it punches tiny little holes in the vaginal tissue in a circular manner. So little holes, like a clock, bring it back a centimeter, more holes, and so on. So it treats the entire length of the vagina. As you can see on that hand piece, there's a measurement system. So we measure the length of the vagina. Just say it's 8 centimeters, which would be average. There'd be 8 circles. So it takes about 8 minutes or less, and then there's 2 passes done. So the whole thing takes 10 minutes or less to complete. Now at the end of that procedure, which is not painful, it kind of feels like a tapping, annoying feeling, but our patients do describe that it doesn't hurt. I had it done myself, so I can verify that's the case. You've got a bunch of little holes in your tissue made with a very hot energy source. So this is creating intentional tissue damage, just like if you did a laser on your face, and that stimulates your body to bring in growth factors that bring in new tissue that's more healthy. So After 3 treatments of vaginal laser, we see fantastic results with making the tissue thicker, more moisture, there's more blood flow, so patients also report more sexual sensation. So it's a fantastic alternative or to use along with estrogen. So like I said, I've had it done and will continue to do it annually, even though I'm taking estrogen, because personally I don't think you can have too much vaginal moisture or sensation. And then in our office, we actually do it along with platelet-rich plasma. You might remember me talking about this before. We would draw your blood and then spin it down. All the red and white cells are removed, and what we're left with is plasma very rich in platelets. So once we've made these little holes in the vaginal tissue, if we put that in the vagina, it's able to soak in through those holes, and again, just increases the number of growth factors that are present to continue that healing to process even more quickly. So when we're using your own blood in the form of PRP along with laser, we do see really good results as far as stimulating moisture, getting rid of pain, and improving sensation. So that's an option that we can offer, or just start with hormones. So those are some great options to get rid of vaginal pain and dryness. And in no situation would I ever tell a patient, oh, well, that's just too bad. It's part of life and it's something you have to put up with. Just think about it. Would men ever go for that idea if we told them your penis is going to dry up, it's going to hurt to have sex? No way. They would fix it, and they did. So now we have these things available to us. In my opinion, it's such a wonderful thing to have a healthy, enjoyable, intimate life. And we can certainly restore that if that's starting to go away, or even better, we can jump on it and prevent it before it even happens. So just a little plug for vaginal moisture and making those sandpaper cells back into puffy donuts. I hope you learned something today. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to share it with your friends and subscribe. I can't wait to see you next week. And happy Menopause Month. So ladies, this is the Juliet Laser. This is the wand that goes inside the vagina. As you can see, it's got measurements. We put it all the way inside the vagina, and then the average length of the vagina is about 8 centimeters. You can see this little window at the end. That's where the laser comes out. And as I'm treating, we're actually turning it around in a circle so that the laser is popping little holes in the tissue in a circular manner. And we're starting at the top, then I bring it back 1 centimeter, and so on. So the average person would have 8 of those little circles. So we punch tiny little holes, and this is an erbium laser, that's the heat source. Tiny little holes in the tissue, so there is a little bit of bleeding. Actually 2 passes. The whole thing takes less than 10 minutes, and it really doesn't hurt. I've had it done myself. It's more of just an annoying tapping feeling. So people often describe it's like being hit with a woodpecker or something like that. As it gets closer to the outside, it's a little bit more sensitive. So before we do it, we actually put some topical lidocaine on the tissue on the outside that's a little bit more fragile. So what does this do? It's causing intentional tissue damage, just like if you lasered your face. When we injure the tissue intentionally, which is what we're doing in a controlled manner, growth factors come in and lay down more collagen. Also, blood flow is improved, so we see more moisture. We see the vaginal tissue just being more resilient, more elastic, better sensation. And another really cool thing that we do at the same time, if you want to, and I do recommend it, is using platelet-rich plasma, which, as you recall, is your own blood. We draw your blood while you're numbing, spin it down, remove the red and white cells, so what we have left is plasma very densely packed in platelets. So when we put that in the vagina after we've punched all these little holes, it can soak into the tissue. Now, if we just put PRP on your skin, it can't get in, so we've got to have an access point. So once we've made holes in the tissue, it actually can soak in, and that accelerates the healing process. So we do see with PRP that the healing's even better. We see better results, so that's an awesome idea. We actually can even do the O shot, which is using platelet-rich plasma in the clitoral area at the same time. I promise it doesn't hurt. I've had it done myself many times. We put very strong topical local anesthetic on so that it's not painful. So using both of those together, the O shot, platelet-rich plasma, along with the laser, that's a fantastic way to restore moisture, get rid of dryness or pain with intercourse. I personally believe pain with intercourse and dryness should be eradicated from the planet. No woman should ever have to put up with that. So this is just another method that can help, along with estrogen, of course, which is the mainstay for restoring vaginal health. So we have a special right now for October because it's Menopause Month. really great pricing on this. We've actually reduced it by $1,000. I know, it's just, we want you to have a great menopause month. So a little bit crazy, but we reduced the price by $1,000 if you do this in October. And that would mean if you purchase the package in October, because there are 3 treatments a month apart. So if you started in October, you'd be done by December. Outpatients say they have really good results even after 1 treatment. And like I say, I've done it myself. But after 3 treatments, the results really are remarkable. So if you're experiencing dryness or pain, this is really something to consider. Now, this is just one brand. This is the one that we have. There are others out there with different names: Mona Lisa, Genesis, Diva. They're all very good. This is just one good one. We happen to like the Cutera brand, but any type of vaginal laser will have these same results. So it's really something to think about, and just an awesome product. I love it. So do not put up with those symptoms, ladies. You don't have to. We can make you feel better.